Hi, my name is Reiko. On behalf of Revolution Books, I wanted to welcome you all. This is a yes. And this is a great bookstore, but it is so much more. At the heart of our store is the New Communism developed by Bob Avakian. And the goal of the New Communism is the most radical revolution in human history, aiming at nothing less than overcoming all forms of oppression and exploitation all around the world, a society where humanity can truly flourish. So I invite you all to come back and browse our books, and especially the work of Avakian, to learn about this society and how we can get to a world that we sorely need. So tonight, we come together in these very tumultuous times to defend Mosab Abu Toha and to celebrate his work. Mosab is a poet, scholar, teacher, librarian, and now a Pulitzer Prize winning journalist. And if you open these two books, Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear and Forest of Noise, open these books and you will find Mosab's poetry about Gaza and Palestine and Palestinians is at once truthful, stark, heart-wrenching, and full of love with moments of great beauty. Yes, these are poems that everybody needs to hear. But this past April, Mosab was forced to cancel his nationwide book tour of Forest of Noise due to threats from BTAR, that's an extreme right-wing vigilante organization that targets pro-Palestine voices. Like other Palestinian writers and activists now in the US, and like so many immigrants, Mosab fears for his safety and the safety of his family and the real possibility of abduction and deportation. So tonight, here are 5 people, poets and writers, activists, who have come to read his poems to you and to share their own, to lift their voices to help build a wall around Mosab and encourage others to raise theirs. Mosab's voice must not be silenced. And I also want to note that tonight, all funds collected will go to support Mosab and his family. We say, there's a couple seats here, we say Palestinian voices must not be silenced. Activists must not be punished. And the terrible and escalating genocide by Israel that is fueled by and part of fascism taking power in the most powerful country in the world, this genocide must stop. We say, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept a fascist America. So, welcome once again, and listen now to a message from Mosab Abu Toha that he recorded for a similar event a week ago in our sister store, Revolution Books, or for our sister store, Revolution Books in Harlem.
Good evening, dear friends and supporters. Thank you very much for standing in solidarity with me, my work, and my family. Thank you for standing for free speech in a time when the oppressed not only get to be killed, dismembered, and disappeared, but also get to be silenced and demonized. Our right to freedom of speech is a universal right that every individual, wherever they are, must enjoy, just as every nation has the right to live freely and in dignity on their land. My poems and my work were born under the rubble of our house in Gaza. They were born in the refugee camp which Israel destroyed systematically in front of the eyes of this world, in broad daylight. We need to read our poems and express our opinions about matters that not only concern the Palestinian people, but every human individual in this world. And we must do this in broad daylight. Thank you again.
So to our first reader tonight, Rafael Jesús González was born in the bicultural, bilingual setting of El Paso, Texas, Juarez, Chihuahua, and was the first poet laureate of Berkeley, and is the founder of the Mexican and Latin American Studies Department at Laney College. Please welcome him.
Thank you, Reiko. As most of you know who are acquainted with my readings, always burned sage before speaking. My ancestors from the Central Plateau of Mexico considered public speaking a sacred act and always burned sweet smoke, copal, sweet grass, sage, whatever was available, to invoke the gods, the goddesses, that they be witnessed that what was said was true. And if it was not, it was by mistake and not intent. Speaking in public is a sacred act. Speaking itself is a sacred act. And now, that freedom of speech, that our right to speak our thoughts and to speak truth is being criminalized. And we have to be very much aware of that. And we have to be very much aware of our own courage in countering that. Do not hesitate to speak. As Reiko mentioned, I was born and raised right on the border, the El Paso Juarez area. So consequently, I am heir to two muses who speak Spanish and English, and therefore all my work, or 99% of it, is in both languages. I will begin by sharing with you a poem by Mosab Abu. The sun rises and moves around. It sets to visit other places, and we are looking for Palestine. The birds look up and look for food. They chirp on the blossoming trees laden with fruit, with peaches, apples, apricots, and oranges. And we are looking for Palestine. The sea waves lap against the shore. They glitter and dance with the fishes' boats. And we are looking for Palestine. People travel to relatives and friends. They book round-trip tickets, stuff their suitcases with gifts and books and clothes. And we are looking for Palestine. Sir, we have no airports and seaports, no trains or highways. We have no passable roads, sir. We do have crutches and wheelchairs, young men with one or no legs, no longer able to work, as if that were work. We travel to the West Bank or Egypt for surgery, even to set a broken leg, but we need a permit to enter. We stuff our suitcases with pictures and memories. They feel very heavy on the ground. We can't carry them, neither can the roads. They scar the surface of the earth. We get lost in the past, present, and future. When a child is born, We feel sad for him or her. A child is born here to suffer, sir. A mother feels the great pain in her labor. A child cries after leaving her dark place. In Palestine, our dark is not safe. In Palestine, children always cry. If we want to travel, we leave many times. In Gaza, we leave via either Erez or Rafah, a hard escape to make. So we search for the visa interview. Cairo, Istanbul, Amman, but not in Palestine. We don't have embassies, sir. The one in Jerusalem is farther than the Andromeda galaxy. Andromeda is 2.5 million light years. But our years stay heavy and dark. It would take millions of years. Sir, we are not welcome anywhere. Our cemeteries don't mind our bodies. We no longer look for Palestine. Our time is spent dying. Soon, Palestine will search for us, for our whispers, for our footsteps, our fading pictures, fallen off, blown off walls. And my answer to Mosab, my tribute to him, is my monthly poem that I write on the full moons. Tonight is a full moon. Do not neglect to look into the skies and give her worship. Otra vez la luna, a Mosab Abu Toha. Otra vez la luna se llena de luz, donde los olivos sollozan y una mano ya no es una mano. En la selva del ruido, quién sabe qué oculte el oído y qué consuelo pueda dar la madrina luna al niño hambriento, a la madre desolada, al padre muriendo de heridas. Tal vez en las ruinas de una biblioteca, un verso de algún poeta ya muerto no los pueda decir. Es fría la luna y relativo su consuelo que pueda dar. Again, the moon. To Mosab Abu Toha. Again, the moon fills with light, where the olive trees sob and a hand is no longer a hand. In the forest of noise, who knows what the ear hides, and what comfort can Godmother Moon give to the starving child, to the desolate mother, to the father dying of wounds? Perhaps in the ruins of a library, the verse of some poet long dead can say, the moon is cold and relative the comfort she can give.
Thank you, Rafael. Cheryl Davila is a former Berkeley City Council member, and she is founder of the Climate Emergency Mobilization Task Force. Please welcome her.
I don't know if you all know this about me, but I stood up for Palestine in 2014. I brought it to the Human Welfare Commission, got removed. And then I ran for city council to be part of a change I wanted to see made. And now, sadly, Berkeley City Council's all Zionists, pretty much, except for one. But Palestine has made me who I am today. So I'm truly honored and humbled to actually read this poem and be part of this evening. And we have to remember that Palestine is changing the world for all of us. Because, you know, it's been occupied for many, many decades. And they are not free, but they are bringing to light all the problems, which we all knew about anyway, but more people are learning about it. And Palestine will be free in our lifetime. We have to make sure of that. So even Newsom, even though he was talking about the 47's occupation of LA, but he's telling people to be out in the streets and speak up. So we all need to be out in the streets and speak up about the fascism, about Palestine, about all the injustices in this world, because there are so many, and we can't go back. We can't allow this to happen, and we have to let journalists be free, writers be free, students be free. All of us need to be free, and Palestine needs to be free. It's way too long. People are suffering and dying, and I cry every day. And now I just recently found out that my dad is, I've known he's 96, but he's in the hospital now. So today I had a rough day, but I'm going to do the best I can reading, and I hope Mosab Abu Toha, I hope I honor his poem as it should be. This is from the books, Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear. My grandfather and home. My grandfather used to count the days for return with his fingers. He then used stones to count. Not enough. He used clouds, birds, people. Absence turned out to be too long. 36 years until he died. For us now it's over 70 years. My grandpa lost his memory. He forgot the numbers, the people. He forgot home. I wish I were with you, Grandpa. I would have taught myself to write you poems, volumes of them, and paint our home for you. I would have sewn you from soil, a garment decorated with plants and trees you had grown. I would have made you perfume from the oranges and soap from the sky's tears of joy. Couldn't think of something purer. I go to the cemetery every day. I look for your grave, but in vain. Are they sure they buried you? Or did you turn into a tree? Or perhaps you flew off with a bird to the nowhere? I place your photo in an earth-worn pot. I water it every Monday and Thursday at sunset. I was told you used to fast those days. On Ramadan, I water it every day for 30 days or less or more. How big do you want our home to be? I can continue to write poems until you are satisfied. If you wish, I can annex a neighboring planet or two. For this home, I shall not draw boundaries, no punctuation marks. Thank you.
So now we have a short video. Dan Sheehan is the author of the novel Restless Souls, And he's the editor of bookmarks at Literary Hub. I don't know if you follow LitHub, but it's good. So, Dan Sheehan.
My name is Dan Sheehan. I'm an editor at Literary Hub and a novelist. And today I'd like to read you a poem from Mosab Abu Toha's most recent collection, Forest of Noise. This is Daughter by Mosab Abu Toha. I ask her to remember, not because I want to hear the story again, but because I want to watch her face relive the moment. That moment, her eyes sparkle with longing. I can see how she flies from the tent to a time when she leapt through our farm in every direction with eyes closed, only stopping at the fence where our orange trees embrace our neighbors' olive trees. Some fallen oranges would tell her to open her eyes, to pick them up and put them in a plate at our doorstep, where children returning from school would stop to gulp some. I love the smell of oranges best when she remembers. Thank you, Mosab, for your words, for your courage, for your relentless advocacy for the humanity of your people. I dearly hope we can all get together again someday soon to celebrate your work in better times.
Revolution Books and Revolution Books in Harlem initiated a statement, which you can also sign online. And Dan Sheehan was one of the people first to sign the statement and put it on LitHub for others to sign. So our next reader is new to Revolution Books. We welcome Lorene Zarou-Zouzounis. She was born in Ramallah, Palestine. You can clap. And emigrated with her family to Detroit, Michigan at age 5. She writes poetry, prose, historical fiction, short stories, and science fiction. Her work appears in 20 print anthologies, plus an interview in Ladij Review, California Poets, Part 3. Please welcome Lorene.
I'm honored to be here to share a few poems of my own and read one poem by Mosab Abu Toha, who I had the pleasure of meeting recently. And my daughter, who's in attendance, introduced me at an IMEU, their media organization. It was a pleasure to meet with him and get to know him and chat. It was quite an honor. I will read Mosab's from Forest of Noise, a poem, My Grandfather's Well. I chose this poem because I had a well. My family had a well. And I too lived in my grandfather's home, my grandmother's home, Sido Salem and Siti Helwe. And I think about this well often because it's a little humor, but it's also very sad in some respects. My mom, who taught me how to garden and appreciate water, she's still alive, she's 93, Salima. She tells me one memory that really sticks is she used to get in trouble all the time for watering her plants, her flowers, because my grandfather would reserve the water, and it was a luxury to have extra water for my mom's flowers. And he would know that she stole water from our well because the bucket was wet. And so I think about our well in Ramallah. My grandfather's well. I never met grandfather, but I can see him close to a well in Jaffa. The forehead he's wiping is a glittering, wrinkled map of the past. His olive wood cane leans against an orange tree. I can see birds of color of earth when it rains. I can watch them harvest oranges, pile them on roofs of houses in the refugee camp. Where have you been, grandfather asked me, his voice getting weary of plowing the thick, muddy soil of language. My arms are down, too tired to lift, even to say hi. I've been pulling up buckets of water from the camp's well, searching for words for my epic. My grandfather stands still close to the well. He never abandoned it, even after the Nakba, even after death. His hands pour water down into the well. In the refugee camp, where land is strewn with debris, where air chokes with rage, my harvest is yet to arrive. My seeds only sprout on this page. Thank you, Mosab, for that poem. This next poem I'll read is written, quite some time ago. Each time there's a massacre in Gaza, or the West Bank, there sprouts a poem. And this one was probably written at not recently, but probably the 2018 or 2014 or sometime there. It is entitled Coping. Death once has a way of coping. Catastrophe or Nakba of 1948. Steel heavy and rubber bullets, chronic loss, mothers mourning each dawn, lone survivor yearning for notice among ashes, shrines in the hollow, spirits rising, wailing. Death, circadian, wanton, genocidal, Palestine goddess mother, mourning each dawn. Mother of mothers, mother of me, she dies, she rises, she dies daily. This way of dying more than once leaves one without a way to cope. This way of dying is clandestine. So many are guilty in the tangle. So many are complicit in the game. So many are crafty in their lies. Leave my mother alone, at peace, at home, for a rebirth, and invite us to her baptism along the Jordan River. Thank you. Shukran. This is actually a very recent poem. I've been having trouble producing new work and editing work. It's been very difficult to bring myself to that creative space and creative mindset in the face of genocide, and you find yourself feeling as if it's a luxury to sit and write a poem in the comfort of your home and your computer and your cup of coffee, and it seems more apt and honorable and productive to go to a march, write a letter, talk to people, sign petitions, etc. It's been very depressing, but we have to continue and resume. We cannot wallow in our sorrow. We must free Palestine. And I'm very fond of the red poppy, the national flower of my beloved Palestine. And the name of this flower is Hanun. And Palestinians oftentimes refer to this flower as the blood of the martyrs. Hanun. Blood of martyrs is a river now. Red poppy is the wind. Yellow center is the food. Ground is the house. Lifeless face is the wallpaper. Cyclamen is the old guard. Bukele is the meal. Zatar is stolen. Olive tree is the watchman. Hell is not below. Hell never was. Time for the thief to put out the fire. Time for the Hanun to reclaim its land. Free Palestine.
Thank you. That was beautiful. And I just got to say, it's necessary to march. And it is also necessary to write and to make art. So, yes. Our next reader is Devi S. Laskar. She's an award-winning writer and poet, photographer, and songwriter. Her third novel, Midnight at the War, a novel about truth and the news before and after 9/11, is forthcoming from Mariner Books in April 2026. Please welcome her.
Thank you. I'm really honored to be here. So I was really, I really appreciated your invitation, Reiko. I have been following Mosab on social media for quite some time, and I was dismayed, to say the least, when I saw that he was being censored. But now I'm just outraged that he's being silenced and, in effect, erased from the public square. And I think moments like these are really, really important, because we do actually have an obligation to each other as citizens, but also as creatives, to keep the work going and share each other's work when possible. So I will start the way I normally do when I read, which is I always read a poem from my teacher before I read. Her name was Lucille Clifton, and she was a wonderful teacher and a good friend, and I thought this poem was appropriate for today. Won't You Celebrate With Me by Lucille Clifton. Won't you celebrate with me what I have shaped into a kind of life? I had no model, born in Babylon, both non-white and woman. What did I see to be except myself? I made it up here on this bridge between starshine and clay, my one hand holding tight my other hand. Come celebrate with me that every day something has tried to kill me and has failed. So I am reading from Forest of Noise. I'm a big fan of Elizabeth Bishop, and Mosab had written this wonderful poem called No Art, and it's in response to Elizabeth Bishop's very famous poem, One Art. So No Art by Mosab Abu Toha. The Art of Losing Isn't Hard to Master by Elizabeth Bishop. You know, everything will come to an end. The sugar, the tea, the dried sage, the water. Just go to the market and restock. Even your shadow will abandon you when there is no light. So just keep things that require only you. The book of poems that only you can decipher. The blank map of a country whose cities and villages only you can recognize. I've personally lost 3 friends to war, a city to darkness, and a language to fear. This was not easy to survive, but survival proved necessary to master. But of all things, losing the only photo of my grandfather under the rubble of my house was a real disaster. Thank you.
So next up is Satsuki Ina. Satsuki was born in the Tule Lake concentration camp during World War II in this country. She is the author of the memoir, The Poet and the Silk Girl. She is a founder of the organization Tsuru for Solidarity and a therapist specializing in trauma. Please welcome her.
So I was born in the Tule Lake Segregation Center. It's the maximum security prison for Japanese Americans who protested their unjust incarceration. My community today is reacting to the repetition of our history, the invocation of the Alien Enemies Act that removed the Venezuelan men to El Salvador without any due process, was the very same act that justified the removal of our fathers and grandfathers initially, then made it possible for President Roosevelt to expand his war powers and incarcerate Japanese American citizens. There were 125,000 of us who were removed from the West Coast, and some were held for up to 6 years. My parents were just married, and by the time they arrested them and incarcerated them in San Francisco, my mother was pregnant with her first child. So my brother was born in Topaz, Utah, which was the second prison camp that they were sent to. There, my parents made a statement. They were forced to renounce their American citizenship, answered no to the artificially constructed moral decision point to determine whether you were loyal or not to America. If you resisted, you were clearly a disloyal troublemaker. So my father was then, we were then removed to the segregation center for dissidents, and my father spoke up. He was charged with sedition and separated from us and placed in Bismarck, North Dakota. Then we were reunited in 1946, after the war had ended, to be deported to Japan. My parents were American citizens. We had birthright citizenship. I was born in the Tule Lake prison camp, and I asked my mother, why would you have another baby in camp? And she said that there was no way for them to know what their future was going to be, how long they were going to be detained. She often wrote in her diary, I wonder if today's the day they're going to line us up and shoot us. The rumors that they heard was the only guidepost that they had for how to cope with what they were faced with. One of the rumors was the more children you had, the less likely your family would be separated. And so I was born out of the hope that my family would be rescued. It didn't work out that way. My father was taken from us. We didn't know where he went for several months, and eventually we were reunited at Crystal City, Texas. And by the grace of the American Civil Liberties Union and an attorney that looked into our situation, fought to prove that disloyalty was an artificial, there had been no evidence that there had been a crime committed, and we were some of the people that were kept from having been deported. My father was a haiku poet, and he often wrote about being a prisoner separated from his family and imagining what his children might be doing while he was away. So this poem from Mosab had special meaning to me. It's called, My Son Throws a Blanket Over My Daughter. written in Gaza, May 2021. At night, at home, we sit on the floor, close to each other, far from the windows and the red lights of bombs. Our backs bang on the walls whenever the house shakes. We stare at each other's faces, scared, yet happy that so far our lives have been spared. The walls wake up from their fitful sleep, no arms to wipe at their bleary eyes. Flies gather around the only lit ceiling lamp. For warmth in the bitter night, cold except when missiles hit and burn up houses and roads and trees. The neighborhood next to us where Yazan learned to ride his bike, now scorched. Every time we hear a bomb falling from an F-16 or an F-35, our lives panic, our lives freeze somewhere in between, confused where to head next, a graveyard, a hospital, a nightmare. I keep my shivering hand on my wristwatch ready to remove the battery if needed. My 4-year-old daughter, Yafa, wearing a pink dress given to her by a friend, hears a bomb explode. She gasps, covers her mouth with her dress's ruffles. Yazan, her 5.5-year-old brother, grabs a blanket, warmed by his sleepy body. He lays the blanket on his sister. "You can hide now," he assures her. Just gather myself for a moment. So much resonance and tragedy. The second poem by Mosab Abu Toha is Things You May Find Hidden. It's from his book titled Things You May Find Hidden in My Ear. And he's dedicated it to a doctor, Alicia M. Quesnel. When you open my ear, touch it gently. My mother's voice lingers somewhere inside. Her voice is the echo that helps recover my equilibrium when I feel dizzy during my attentiveness. You may encounter songs in Arabic, poems in English I recite to myself, or a song I chant to the chirping birds in our backyard. When you stitch the cut, don't forget to put all these back in my ear. Put them back in order as you would do with books on your shelf. The drones buzzing sound the roar of the F-16, the screams of bombs falling on houses, on fields, and on bodies, of rockets flying away. Rid my small ear canal of them all. Spray the perfume of your smile on the incision. Inject the song of life into my veins to wake me up. Gently beat the drum so my mind may dance with yours, my doctor, day and night. I have written a book. It's a memoir about my family's journey through their incarceration. And there were parts that I had to write as if they were poems because I couldn't remember them in a linear way. So I don't actually consider myself a poet, but I have a request. We don't want Mosab's voice to be silenced. I was watching not too long ago the movie Fahrenheit 451. You probably read it in a book. I did in high school. And the conclusion in that book, after they burned the books, was for people to become the book, to memorize the book so that it could be preserved. And so I'd like to ask everyone here, recite one of Mosab's poems to a friend, to a family, anywhere, and ask them to recite Mosab's poem somewhere else. Thank you.
That is a wonderful idea. And you're all gonna go out and do it, right? So I just want to remind you that this was on your seat, and it is a way to donate to Mosab and his family and his work. And if you don't like the digital world, Gina would be happy to take your cash, and we will forward the cash to Mosab. So last on our program tonight, I want to call it Barry. Barry Thornton is on the staff of Revolution Books, and he is also a writer for revcom.us.
This is not a poem. It's a statement from our store. And I did want to start by saying this. The statements and the poetry readings were so beautiful and so powerful. And I'm so glad that we did this event and that so many people wanted to read. The statement: we confront many grievous atrocities right now. The horrific, live-streamed, U.S.-backed, U.S.-funded genocide in Gaza. Trump MAGA fascism hatching plans right now to send troops across the country to enforce expanding deportations and put down protests that haven't even happened yet. And because of right-wing Zionist threats and the actions of the Trump regime, Mosab Abu Toha cannot even safely read his poems in public in the USA. The terrible truth about what Israel is doing in Gaza can't be spoken inside the US without hysterical screams of anti-Semitism from the office of the presidency. And these screams echo throughout society. Universities suspend students, withhold diplomas, and students who tell the truth are snatched off the street. Mosab's poetry powerfully, beautifully, and hauntingly defies all that, bravely taking you inside what it means to live under the bombardment, theft of land, smashing of mosques and libraries that has gone on for generations and is now taken to the level of mass starvation of children. And Mosab's poetry does this with astonishing humanity and beauty. So it is so important that this event is taking place, that writers and activists have stepped up to confront the situation, to say no, and to raise their own voices and to raise Mosab's poetry. And we hope, and partly why we launched this effort, is that this will spread across the country, and that Mosab's poetry will reach people who are right now politically awakening in distant places inside the US. It's a critical part of the mission of Revolution Books to hold events like this. Poetry is an important part of revolution. This is emphasized by the new communism, which is at the heart of our store. And this new communism puts right at the center the emancipation of humanity, and it brings out the deepest and fullest rejection of all the horrors and oppressive relations of this system, and brings the incredible beauty, passion, and science that writers and poets have brought forward and which fill the shelves of our store. For standing for all this, some people love and appreciate what we're trying to do, and some people call us, we're a cult, and do everything they can to disparage the work we're trying to do and attack Bob Avakian. This does great harm right now. And the thinking that's behind this kind of attack is something that people have to get past if we're ever going to have human emancipation. And I invite people after this event to stay and to talk about this and other crucial questions. And as for the situation we're in right now, the New York Times recently said that Trump was making a mistake about how to keep protests under control by sending in the National Guard and the Marines. Well, actually, Trump is on an urgent mission to break the power of his ruling class rivals, to strip away all the basic rights of the people and crush any real opposition. He seizes on any possible excuse, and if there's no excuse, he just lies. That's what's going on, and this is what we have to stop. Right now, there are protests every day. Join one. Right now, there are battles every day over the control of the universities, of art, of science, of culture, of medicine, of the state of California. And if you're in those arenas, join in and fight. We cannot let the fascists win, and we don't have to. It's a lot on us to take this fight up. And this week, so many have stepped up. And I want to salute the people in LA and and thousands more across the country, and hundreds who've been arrested. But the truth of the matter is, this is not yet enough to stop this fascism. We need a fierce, determined, nonviolent movement going on the offensive and demanding that the Trump regime must go now. And a movement that will not stop until Trump, MAGA fascism is no longer in power and fascism has been defeated politically. And this is, I urge people to look into the organization Refuse Fascism. This fierce struggle in LA is leading up to this coming weekend, where there are national No Kings protests, the last I heard, in over 200 cities. Trump is seeking to organize a fascist military parade on his birthday, a declaration that the U.S. Army is his fascist army, that the U.S. government is his fascist government, and we cannot accept this. We have to win everyone who hates fascism to come out this weekend. And I invite people to join the Refuse Fascism contingent, which we passed out a flyer about that, which is going to meet at 10 a.m. at 24th and Mission, and then march to the larger convergence at Dolores Park, which is then going to march to Civic Center. And if you happen to be in Washington, D.C., join the protest Refuse Fascism is holding there in the belly of the beast. So I just want to conclude with this. Revolution Books will continue to bring books of all kinds, including Revolution and Communism, but many other kinds of books, to the people. We will foster critical thinking in the spirit of, in the name of humanity, we refuse to accept the fascist America. We urge everyone to stand up against the genocide in Palestine, to take up Mosab's poetry. That was a great idea about passing poems on. That's a great idea. And help project Mosab's poetry everywhere in this urgent time. Thank you.
So I think what we want to do is just play the message from Mosab one more time.
Good evening, dear friends and supporters. Thank you very much for standing in solidarity with me, my work, and my family. Thank you for standing for free speech in a time when the oppressed not only get to be killed, dismembered, and disappeared, but also get to be silenced and demonized. Our right to freedom of speech is a universal right that every individual, wherever they are, must enjoy, just as every nation has the right to live freely and in dignity on their land. My poems and my work were born under the rubble of our house in Gaza. They were born in the refugee camp which Israel destroyed systematically in front of the eyes of this world, in broad daylight. We need to read our poems and express our opinions about matters that not only concern the Palestinian people, but every human individual in this world. And we must do this in broad daylight. Thank you again.